Welcome to The Debate. This special edition is an idea for Hot Hot Hut. Today, we are looking at the massive artificial intelligence race of 2026.
And it is a massive race. I mean, we are talking about American tech companies spending something like $725 billion on giant AI data centers.
Right. But to understand who wins this race, we have to look back at history. Big fights between great powers like Athens and Sparta, or the US and the Soviet Union, they didn't actually end on the battlefield.
No, they didn't. They ended at the bankruptcy line. The winner is usually just the country that, doesn't run out of money first.
Exactly. Technology sets the speed, sure, but plain, simple economics decides the winner. And that brings us to a really simple economic idea called the closed loop.
Right, the closed loop, which is basically just a system that pays for itself.
Exactly. You spend money to build something, and then that thing makes enough profit to pay for the next round of building. The early internet was a perfect example of this.
Yeah, the government funded the start of it, and then companies like Amazon and Google used it to make billions.
Right, they paid taxes, they hired people, and that money funded more cables and more research. Every dollar spent eventually brought more dollars back. The loop closed.
But then, on the other side, you have the open loop.
The dangerous one.
Right. Think of the Soviet Union's military back in the 1980s. They spent just huge amounts of money building thousands of tanks and submarines.
But a tank doesn't make a profit.
Exactly. It just sits there. It breaks down. It needs fuel. It costs money to fix. So in 1986, when the Soviet Union's oil money dried up, they couldn't afford to keep the system running. Their open loop caused them to go totally broke.
Which brings us to the core question we are debating today. Is this massive American AI boom, this $725 billion bet on the future, is it a healthy, working, closed loop that will pay for itself?
Or is it a dangerous open loop heading for a giant crash? It's literally a question worth $1 trillion.
Well, I'll be arguing that America's private market, which is driven by massive customer demand for AI, is successfully closing the loop. It is a self-feeding system that guarantees our future lead in the world.
And I will be arguing that AI prices are dropping way too fast to pay off these giant debts. I believe we are creating a dangerous open loop that risks crushing the entire technology industry.
Let's just start with the heart of the American AI system. Right now, this boom is built on a working closed loop, led by companies like OpenAI.
Okay, but is it actually working?
It is. We aren't just building giant computers and crossing our fingers. Customers are voluntarily swiping their credit cards and paying billions of dollars for AI services right now.
They are paying, sure. But, are they paying anywhere near enough?
They are paying a massive amount. Look, OpenAI is projected to make between $30 and $50 billion by 2027. Millions of normal, everyday people, plus thousands of huge businesses are buying this.
Right.
And this creates something called a flywheel effect.
Let's make sure we define that clearly for the listeners.
Of course. So a flywheel is just a heavy wheel that takes a lot of effort to push at first, but once it gets spinning, it powers itself.
It builds its own momentum.
Exactly. In AI, the flywheel is about data and money. Millions of people use the AI and ask it questions. That gives the company tons of free data.
Which makes the AI smarter.
Right. A smarter AI attracts even more paying customers. More customers bring in more money to buy more computers. The wheel spins faster and faster. And the best part is that it's driven by real market demand, not government handouts.
I hear the logic there. I do. And $30 to $50 billion in revenue sounds great on paper.
It is great.
But it's a dangerous illusion when you actually look at the math underneath it. That $30 to $50 billion isn't even close to enough to pay for the $500 billion these companies are spending on computer chips and data centers over the next 5 years.
Well, you can't compare a single year of revenue to 5 years of building. That spending is an investment. They are building the foundation.
But is it a safe foundation? That is what I don't buy. The risk is all piled onto one single spot. Let's look at the concentration risk here.
Okay, what do you mean?
Companies like Oracle and AMD are betting hundreds of billions of dollars on OpenAI alone. If customers suddenly decide they just don't want to pay high prices for AI anymore, this entire tower falls down.
I think that's a bit of an exaggeration.
It's exactly like the Soviet economy crashing when global oil prices dropped. They relied on one single thing, and when that slipped, the whole machine broke.
Let's pause right there, because I think we need to look at why everyone is betting on this one company. You call it a concentration risk, but I call it a proven winner.
A winner carrying a massive amount of debt.
But look at the growth. OpenAI reached 100 million users in just 2 months. That is the fastest growth of any technology in human history.
Faster than the internet, yeah?
It beats cell phones. It beats the internet. It beats social media. They are making more money now than most of the top 500 software companies in the world. This isn't just a guess. People find real daily value in this. It's a very strong anchor holding the industry in place.
It is a strong anchor today, but think about the sheer, massive weight resting on it. We aren't just talking about a few software updates here. Oracle signed a $300 billion contract for data centers.
Which is a huge vote of confidence.
AMD committed 6 gigawatts of power just for OpenAI's computer chips.
Again, showing how much trust the big players have in the product.
Or it shows how fragile the whole setup is. Let me put 6 gigawatts into perspective for a second.
Go ahead.
That is equal to 1/6 of all the electricity used by the entire country of South Korea. 1/6. Think of this economy like a giant, heavy bridge supported by only one pillar.
But there isn't just one pillar.
Yes, OpenAI is a strong pillar right now. But if they slip even a little bit, like if a competitor beats them, or if big businesses decide to shrink their tech budgets next year, the entire bridge comes down.
I don't see that happening.
But if it does, Oracle won't be able to pay its debts. AMD stock will crash. The ripple effect would wipe out the tech industry in months.
I see the visual you are painting, but that bridge doesn't just have one pillar. The whole private market is building multiple pillars. Google, Meta, Microsoft.
But they're all tied to the same basic technology.
Sure, but even if we just focus on the main pillar, you have to ask yourself a basic question. Why would businesses stop paying for AI?
The simple answer is, they won't.
Because it gets too expensive?
No, because AI saves them hundreds of millions of dollars in human labor.
They won't stop using it, I agree with that, but what they pay for it is already dropping.
And that is actually the secret to why the loop closes. We really have to talk about inference economics.
Let's break that term down for a second, so everyone is on the same page.
Right. So in AI, there are basically 2 costs. Training is when you spend $1 billion to read the whole internet and teach the AI how to think.
That's the giant upfront cost.
Exactly. Then there is inference. Inference is the daily cost of actually answering a user's question. And right now, inference costs are getting cheaper.
Much cheaper. Yes, and that is a good thing. Look, if a big law firm uses AI to read thousands of legal documents, and it saves them $200 million a year in wages, they will happily pay $50 million a year for that AI.
Sure, they would.
And as the cost of running that AI gets cheaper, a rule called the Jevons paradox kicks in.
Ah, the Jevons paradox.
It is a really simple economic rule. It basically says that when a technology gets cheaper and more efficient, people don't actually spend less money on it.
They just use way more of it.
Exactly. So the total money spent actually goes up.
Like when electricity got cheaper 100 years ago, people didn't lower their power bills. They just bought more TVs and refrigerators, and their bills stayed the same or went up.
Spot on. So even if the computer chips get cheaper, the total money made by AI companies will explode.
I'm not so sure about that.
Why wouldn't it? Because instead of a few big companies using AI to write emails, every company in the world will use AI to run their entire customer service department.
Right, but
They'll use it to invent medicines. The demand will skyrocket, the profits will rise, and those giant data centers will easily pay for themselves. The loop closes perfectly.
it is a great theory. It really is. But I strongly disagree with how you apply it to AI today. You are assuming prices will drop gently. I am telling you they are crashing through the floor.
Crashing is a strong word.
Let's talk about the DeepSeek R1 example.
The Chinese AI model.
Yes. For a long time, the American tech giants told us you had to spend over $1 billion to train a top-level AI. It was a massive barrier to entry.
Right, which kept the market stable.
It meant only the richest companies could play the game. But then DeepSeek, which is a startup in China, they trained a world-class AI model for only $5.6 million.
It was an incredible technical trick, sure.
It wasn't just a technical trick. It was an economic earthquake. When DeepSeek proved you could do it for cheap, the whole market panicked.
They reacted, yes.
AI prices crashed 90% in just 2 years. We went from paying $30 for a million AI words down to paying just $1 to $3. The secret is out. Anyone can build a great AI now. The protective moat is completely gone.
But again, lower prices mean more people use it. That is the Jevons paradox we just talked about.
High volume doesn't save you if your profit margin drops to practically zero. Think about tap water.
Tap water?
Yeah, we all use tap water every single day. We use thousands of gallons of it. But nobody gets rich selling tap water because it is simply too cheap.
I don't think that's a fair comparison.
If AI becomes as cheap and common as tap water, companies will still use it to read documents, sure. But they're going to use a cheap $2 AI model. They aren't going to buy the $50 million premium package.
But
Let me finish this thought. If the profits shrink down to pennies, these tech giants will never, ever make enough money to pay off the $725 billion they borrowed to build the data centers. The debt will eat them alive.
I really don't buy that tap water analogy because it completely ignores what big businesses actually pay for. Businesses don't just buy raw computer code. They buy trust. They buy security.
But code is code. If it works, it works.
Not when it handles corporate secrets. A giant bank is not going to hand its private financial data to a $2 AI built by a random startup just to save a few bucks.
You'd be surprised what bean counters will do to save money.
They're going to stick with the big, trusted American companies because those companies offer secure systems that lock in with their other software.
They will stick with them up to a certain point. But if the cheap version gets, just good enough and is 10 times cheaper, they will switch.
Even if they do, what you are describing is just normal market competition. This is actually our greatest strength in the long run. If we want to win the AI race, we have to rely on the private market.
How is losing all your profit a strength?
Because the private market demands real results, and it cleans up its own messes. Think back to the dot-com boom in the year 2000.
Okay, a huge bubble.
Right. People spent billions building the early internet. It was a huge bubble. And yes, it burst. A lot of companies went totally bankrupt. But what happened next?
A lot of investors lost their shirts.
But the strong companies, like Amazon, they survived. And more importantly, the fiber optic cable stayed in the ground. The physical technology remained.
That is true.
The weak companies died, someone else bought their equipment for pennies, and the internet kept growing. Private money fails fast, it finds the real winners, and it builds the future. American private capital is fast, it's smart, and it will figure out how to close this loop.
Fast and smart is great for building websites or smartphone apps, but AI infrastructure takes much longer to build. We're talking about massive power plants and giant cooling systems.
Which private companies are building right now.
But this brings us to a huge structural difference: China's state capital model.
You mean the government controlling everything?
Yes, and in this specific case, it might actually be an advantage. China isn't relying on Wall Street investors.
No, they aren't.
Wall Street investors panic if they don't see a giant profit in 5 to 7 years. China's government coordinates everything from the very top.
Which is exactly what the Soviet Union tried to do with their military, and they went bankrupt.
They went bankrupt because they built weapons that no one could buy. China is building technology that the entire global economy runs on, and they coordinate it perfectly.
I wouldn't say perfectly.
They have a massive plan called East Data West Computing. They build the solar farms, they build the computer chips, and they build the data centers, all at the exact same time, moving in the exact same direction.
But without private market pressure, top-down systems waste incredible amounts of money. There's no feedback loop to tell them they're building the wrong thing.
That might be true. But they have one thing American markets do not have: deep structural patience. China's government can wait 20 to 30 years to see a return on their money.
Okay.
Wall Street simply will not wait that long. So let me ask you, what if closing the AI loop naturally takes 15 years?
You think American investors will just give up halfway?
I absolutely do. If these American tech companies don't show huge, massive profits by 2028 or 2029, Wall Street will panic. They will pull their funding out. The building will completely stop.
I disagree.
and China will win the AI race simply by being patient and waiting for our private market to get bored and quit.
Let me challenge that directly. The American system might look messy from the outside. We have companies fighting, prices crashing, and investors panicking. But that messiness is the exact reason we win.
How does panicking help us win?
Because in a top-down system like China's, if the government makes a bad bet on the wrong type of computer chip, the whole country loses a decade. In our system, if one company makes a bad bet, they go out of business.
Right.
Their competitor buys their computers for super cheap, and the American system keeps moving forward. The machine itself never stops.
I agree that America is great at cleaning up bad bets, but you have to look at the scale of 2026. We are talking about nearly $1 trillion in spending.
Which is a lot, yes.
If a bet this big goes wrong, it's not just a few tech startups failing in a garage. It's the big banks. It's the power grid companies. It's a financial shockwave that hurts normal people and crashes the entire economy. You are treating it like a normal tech cycle, but this is the size of a national infrastructure project.
But you're assuming the bet goes wrong. You're assuming that just because AI gets cheaper to make, the money disappears. Look at regular computer chips over the last 50 years.
Okay, let's look at them.
Every single year, chips got cheaper, smaller, and faster. By your logic, the computer companies should have gone bankrupt because their product got too cheap. Did they?
No, but
No. They became the richest companies in human history. Why? Because when chips got cheaper, we didn't stop buying them. We just started putting them in absolutely everything.
phones, cars.
Exactly. Our phones, our cars, our refrigerators, our watches. AI is going to be exactly the same. As the price drops, it gets built into every single tool we use.
Wait, let me stop you right there, because a physical computer chip is totally different from AI.
How so?
A chip is a physical thing you have to manufacture in a factory. It has physical limits. AI is software. It is just math.
Well, it runs on physical chips.
But once you figure out the math, it is incredibly easy to copy. That is exactly what DeepSeek proved to the world. They looked at the math that American companies spent billions trying to perfect, and they copied it for $5 million.
It's more complex than that.
You can't just easily copy a billion-dollar physical factory. You can copy code.
But again, businesses don't just run on raw code. They run on reliable ecosystems. The iPhone isn't just a piece of glass. It's the App Store, the security, the whole package. That is what OpenAI and Microsoft are building.
And I am telling you, companies will stay in that ecosystem only as long as the price makes sense. The second they realize they can do the exact same job with a cheaper tool, they will switch.
We'll see about that.
And when they switch, the giant profits that are supposed to pay off the $725 billion debt will just vanish. Then, all those beautiful new data centers just become giant, empty buildings that cost millions of dollars a day just to keep the lights on. They become a massive open loop.
I think we've really hit the core of our disagreement here. So let's pull this all together. I want to make sure the listeners walk away with a very clear summary of exactly where we both stand on this huge issue.
That is a great idea.
So to summarize my position, to win the AI race, you need a system that pays for itself, a closed loop. I believe America's private companies are proving right now that they can make huge profits from AI today.
Right.
By finding real customers and solving real problems. They are creating a healthy cycle of growth. This market-driven approach, where demand pays for infrastructure, will keep America in the lead and build the future of the global economy.
And to summarize my position, I believe we are building too much, too fast on borrowed money. Because AI is basically software, it's getting cheaper to copy every single day.
We definitely disagree on that impact.
Soon, the profits simply will not be big enough to pay off the massive debts we are creating. If we aren't careful, we're just building modern Soviet tanks with circuits, incredibly expensive toys that will bankrupt the builder before they ever win the race.
Well, if there is one thing we can absolutely agree on, it's that we won't have to wait very long to find out who is right.
No, we really won't. Between the years 2028 and 2030, the bills are going to come due. We will see if the money runs out or if the profits explode.
Exactly. The future depends on looking closely at these multiple perspectives.
The world changes fast, and understanding both the technology and the economics is the only way to see what's coming.
We are literally living through history right now.
We certainly are. Thank you for debating this with me today. Remember, great power competitions don't end on the battlefield. They end at the bankruptcy line. It is up to you to look at the facts and decide which side of the line you think we are building on today.